Welcome to the Blockbusters and Birdwalks podcast. I am the curator, Garrett Chaffin-Quiray. The Sea Inside is an excellent movie. I rewatched it recently and found myself crying several times over in the front row of the theater space because I found the performances so deeply rich and humane. The background story and premise is that in 1968 a young man named Ramon Sampedro had a diving accident. This snapped his neck and in one moment rendered him a quadriplegic. He spent then the next nearly 30 years earning the right to die in Spain. This was a long legal struggle, and he became something of a cause célèbre, as his plight became something of an issue many people wrestled with, including members of his very own family. When this was translated into a movie by the filmmaker Alejandro Amenabar, who is the director, the co-writer, the co-producer, the composer, and the editor of the finished movie, what we have is a story that centers on one performance by Javier Bardem, who is here mostly playing a man in his middle 50s. The movie takes some of its narrative energy from the fact that Ramon lives in the household of his devoted older brother, Jose, played by Celso Bugallo, and his wife, Manuela, Mabel Rivera. This brother and sister-in-law pair dote on Ramon, catering to his every need and treating him like a very large infant, which is what he is, after all, unable to move his body or feed himself. They care for him in a loving fashion and do so through the decades of their middle years. Around the edges of their household is their son, Javier, played by Tamar Novas, and the brothers, Ramon and Jose's elder father, Joaquin, played by Joan Dalmau. These five people each have a moment to shine in the course of the movie. What we learn along the way is that Jose refuses to allow his brother to kill himself in his home, thus requiring Ramon to enlist the aid of others, including a set of legal and civic advocates who work on his behalf pro bono. One of these advocates is a woman named Julia, played by Belén Rueda, who is herself suffering from a degenerative disorder that puts her own mortality and her own interest in suicide by choice in the fore of her thinking. In the background, Ramon and Julia fall in love, but Julia is a married person with a devoted husband who's mostly seen not speaking in secondary roles around the edges of the frame. Another important link Ramon has with the wider community is a young woman named Rosa, played by Lola Duenas. She is a single mother of two young boys who first becomes enamored of Ramon and his story after hearing him speak on television, exhibiting his body and expressing his desire to die. She disagrees with this goal, but they form an interesting friendship. Ultimately, Rosa becomes central to the plan that Ramon is able to engineer with the assistance of Gené, the advocate played by Clara Seguro, who organizes an effort to get his case put into the court system where it will be thrown out, and it is. And from there, the advocates working with Ramon devise a plan. The plan is to have a group. Each member of the group does one small task, adding up to the ultimate end of his life. And they are successful. In this important, near-concluding scene of the movie, Ramon turns to a camera that has been set up at the end of his bed to address the civil authorities of Spain and suggest the nature of his plight. It is also his suicide, which we watch on screen, which is connected with certain dream sequences of Ramon in which he goes back to the moment where his neck was broken in the diving accident, and we move back and forth between past and present. Ramon begins speaking.
Señores jueces, autoridades políticas y religiosas, ¿qué significa para ustedes la dignidad?
Judges, political and religious authorities, what does dignity mean to you?
Sepan que para mí esto no es vivir dignamente.
Whatever the answer of your conscience, know that for me, this is not a worthy life. I would have liked to at least die with dignity. Today, tired of the institutional laziness, I see myself forced to do it in hiding like a criminal.
Deben ustedes saber que el proceso que conducirá a mi muerte
You should know that the process conducting to my death has been carefully divided in small actions that do not constitute a crime by themselves and have been executed by several friendly hands. If, even then, the state insists in punishing my helpers, I would suggest that you cut their hands, because that is all that they contributed. The head, conscience, was provided by me.
Como pueden ver, a mi lado,
as you can see, to my side I have a glass of water that contains a dose of potassium cyanide.
Cuando lo beba, habré dejado de existir.
When I drink it, I will cease to exist, relinquishing my most precious property, my body.
Considero que vivir es un derecho, no una obligación, como ha sido en mi caso.
I believe that living is a right, not an obligation, as it has been in my case, forced to accept this sad situation during 28 years, 4 months, and some days.
Pasado este tiempo, hago balance del camino recorrido y no me salen las cuentas de la felicidad. Solo el tiempo que discurrió contra mi voluntad.
After all this time, I make a balance of the road traveled, and I can't account for the happiness, only the time that passed against my will during most of my life. Time will be my ally from now on. Only time and the evolution of consciences will decide one day if my request was reasonable or not. We then watch Ramon sip the straw placed into the cyanide solution. We watch his face register discomfort. We watch him begin to spasm. And we watch him die. This is an extraordinary moment in the movie, in which you can feel people around you in a theater space cringe. Those leaning into great sympathy towards the plight of this suicidal reckoning, and those who lean far away from it and find it offensive. This is necessary to consider in the course of the movie's overall obligation to present the beauty of life and what a good life might mean. Several examples come to mind as I reflect on the movie, images and moments that stick out as being magnificent. His friend Jeanette becomes pregnant, and her belly grows, and there comes a moment when he's been rolled on his bed to avoid bed sores, and she comes to his bedside, lifts her shirt so he can hear the baby inside her. There is a scene where Ramon lies in his bed when a record player has been turned to play Giacomo Puccini's Turandot, the Nessun Dorma. Then he stands up, backs down a hallway facing an open window, and runs towards that open window and leaps. The camera moves across a series of forest hills. In translation, the ultimate aim of this piece of music is to express the needs of Calaf, who has fallen in love with a very beautiful but very distant and cold Princess Turandot. Vanish, O night. Fade, you stars. At dawn I will win. I will win. We watch Ramon be deposited on a beach, able-bodied, meeting Julia. As the Foreign Language Film of the Year Academy Award winner, The Sea Inside was well heralded by critics and audiences alike. As we watch Bardem inhabit the role of Ramon, we're also reminded in a couple of very stark images that this very fine, very fit, very handsome actor is taking on a role that reduces all of those very sellable capacities and turning him into something else. We see the shriveled hands and feet of his body being washed by his caregivers. We look at his body being twisted in bed because he can't control anything but bare movement in his left hand and the movement of his head. We also see that the shock of brown hair that Bardem enjoyed as a younger person has been turned into male pattern baldness and gray hair. We see age spots, we see wrinkles, we see a makeup job that has taken a very good-looking young man and turned him into a very typical-looking older man whose body has withered through non-use while lying in bed for decades. We also note that each character is able to express a philosophy about what suicide and life are and their relationship to one another, which echoes the various feelings you're likely to meet in any group of people who experience a conversation about this subject, indeed, who watch this movie. No one position is made ridiculous, and no one position is celebrated without conflict over what is the right thing to do. Throughout the journey of Ramon's life, he announces that I have made a decision for myself. I do not speak for other quadriplegics, other people who are ailing, other people who have suicidal ideation. I am speaking alone for myself. Something is powerful about that because in our society we tend to raise up the individual voice as a representation of whatever group we think they belong to. And here we watch one man saying, because I have been grouped with one particular identity attached to a larger group of people, my individuality and my claim to personal sovereignty has been erased, and I'm asserting myself with my voice to achieve what it is that I want from this life that is mine. Thank you for listening to the Blockbusters and Birdwalks podcast. My name is Garrett Chaffin-Quiray. Boop boobity doo.